Hey there. Thanks for tuning in to episode 23. And I just want to say that I'm really looking forward to recording this episode. And the reason for that is because I have a an announcement to share with my followers and my listeners. So, over the last almost a year, I'm not gonna lie, recording episodes for me has been a little tough, but I tried my absolute best to stay consistent with 2 episodes per month. But the reason behind this is because me and my husband, we wanted to keep this private for some time, but I'm officially in my 3rd trimester of pregnancy. And just being exposed to and just absorbing in, pregnancy and motherhood has been such a beautiful journey. And honestly, time has just been flying by to where I'm already in my 3rd trimester, and this is just home stretch for me. And I wanted to come on here and make this announcement is because, one, we wanted to keep it private for some time. And two, I would love to share episodes on my pregnancy journey. And throughout this time, I've been listening to podcast episodes about other people's pregnancy journey and just, staying up to date with uh, OBGYN appointments, like what to expect, like how to basically adapt to your body changing. This is my first time being pregnant, and I'm really and truly embracing this process, embracing this journey. I feel like I took a lot of time throughout my pregnancy, not only sleeping, taking a lot of naps, but really embracing my body, changing and adapting to to the pregnancy, but also just the mental and emotional aspect of it, wanting to take care of myself and learn more about, pregnancy and what to expect. This is a transition period. And for those of you that have been pregnant before, that have kids, know that, this is something I've never experienced, right? Like, once you go through it, you definitely experience it. It's such a transitional period because you go from, just being your own self, and then you have a baby that you're responsible for, that you are growing in your body, that you're forever attached to. And I've never experienced anything like this. And I think the expectations of, what's to come up can be scary. Can definitely be scary because you've never been a mother. You don't know what to expect. But at the same time, it's just excitement behind it, and really looking forward to spending time with your baby is such an absolutely beautiful experience. And I wouldn't have it any other way. But I would really like to talk about my pregnancy on my platform. And I'm sure that I can relate to many women, or many women can relate to my experiences being pregnant. And of course, I not only do I talk about topics, self development topics, personal growth topics, I also include my lifestyle into my podcast because I want to be able to feel like we're having a conversation, like we know each other, right? And we know about each other's lives. And I definitely want to come on here and talk about my pregnancy journey and what I've been through. And please feel free to ask me anything. I mean, this is a safe space. Don't ever feel, like hesitant in asking me questions about my pregnancy journey. But this was my announcement for today, and I'm really looking forward to talking about my pregnancy journey along with, of course, my other podcast topics as well. So for today's topic, I want to delve into forgiving others and forgiving yourself. And this was one of the popular topics on my Instagram poll. And for the right reasons. I feel like many of us do struggle with people in our lives who have hurt us and who have not treated us well, or even ourselves, how we treat ourselves and how we respect ourselves and how we overcome that shame or that feeling of guilt, and understanding to show ourselves grace and forgiving ourselves. I think it's a great topic, and it's something I can very much relate to. So, I want to start off by saying that, for me personally, forgiving someone takes a lot in me. Um, or I wouldn't say it takes a lot in me, but it used to take a lot in me. I think I've changed my ways of interacting with certain people, or I've also distanced myself from certain people, removed certain people from my life, because I think a lot of it comes down to, again, how you associate with people, how you let other people treat you. Again, the people pleasing, the boundary setting, all of that, right? You eventually come to terms with certain people in your life, and you realize, wow, this person has hurt me too many times, or this person, doesn't respect me or my boundaries, or maybe I haven't set boundaries for this person to even respect me. And, and that's okay. So I would say, in terms of forgiving others, it really starts with being able to forgive yourself. If you've made a mistake, or you've been through something, or someone has hurt you and someone did you wrong and you were blindsided, or whatever it may be, you were betrayed, anything, right? You want to first show yourself grace and understand that that was the best I can do in that situation with what I knew at the time, but now I know better. So either I forgive this person and move on and try to make amends, or I forgive this person and move on and distance myself. And, you just learn as you go, but it really starts with also forgiving yourself, because a lot of times I feel like, you're attacking this person for the way they made you feel, but a lot of it also stems from like the shame and the guilt that you're feeling, that how could I let this person treat me this way, or like, why did this person treat me this way, like what did I do? And you have to tell yourself that it could be a combination of things, right? One is maybe the way you portrayed yourself, or a lot of it has to do with projection too. People really do project onto you. So learning to forgive yourself first. And if you don't, it builds up so much resentment, right? Like, you want to avoid that feeling of resentment. No one wants that in their heart. You want a clear conscience, you want a clear mind, you want a clear heart moving forward. But that does not mean that you forget what someone has done, right? again, you can give someone the benefit of the doubt, but you just have to be more mindful of how you interact with that person. And, as you get older, as you go through lessons and, you understand that you've made a mistake, the people that you associate with and the way you treat yourself, I think it all comes down to, you know, if people are putting their words into actions, and that's the same thing goes for you, right? So I think, again, you want to avoid that feeling of resentment and hate in your heart because you don't want to keep that with you and end up hurting people that don't deserve it, right? Like sometimes you'll run into people and you realize that this is actually true. Hurt people, right? Like there's been times in my life where someone has treated me wrong or disrespected me or made a passive aggressive remark or something of that sort. And you just realize that this person is truly injured at heart. Someone must have hurt them or they have resentment built up for whatever reason, and they're projecting that onto you. So you don't want to be that person, especially like at this age, right? Like you always want to make sure that, okay, I went through something, this person treated me bad, I feel horrible, whatever. That doesn't mean you forget about it. You forgive them. You don't forget what they did, but you forgive them because you're doing it for yourself. You don't want to poison your mind and poison your heart. So in the future, you're not hurting other people because of all that built up resentment and all that built up hate. That doesn't get you anywhere. It just makes you feel even more miserable. And this is something that I've had to come to terms with because I do feel like I'm someone with a lot of pride. And ego's there as well because you're putting up a shield, you're putting up a wall, right? You're just trying to protect yourself. But you also have to understand that, throughout this process of protecting yourself, like, are you hurting yourself? Are you poisoning your brain? Are you poisoning your mind? You know, are you putting things in your heart and making it hard for yourself to have a clear conscience? Because you never want to go about in life not having a clear conscience and a clean mind and a clear heart. And it's not easy, but it's something that is attainable and it requires a lot of self work, inner work. And you just let people be, show grace, and move on with your life. You don't want to spend the rest of your life holding yourself back from building new relationships, having new friendships, or finding another job, or like exploring things, or being hard on yourself, right? You want to make sure that you are indeed moving on in your life, doing the things that you love, and you can't let anybody stop you from doing that because there's not one person on this earth that hasn't been hurt or hasn't been betrayed or something bad happens to them. Everyone goes through something. It's just the way you navigate through it and the way you handle it, the way you deal with it. And so, you have your environment around you, but it's also the fact that it's how you handle those environmental stressors. It's how you handle other people. It tells you a lot about someone's character, how they deal with people who have hurt them. So I think that the golden rule for forgiveness is just abandoning all these thoughts of animosity and hatred, having a personal vendetta towards someone else. That bitterness, that anger, all of that should be taken care of. I'm not saying it's not going to be there, but you should be able to manage those feelings because you're only hurting yourself, right? If you're sitting there overthinking and thinking about, oh my gosh, I can't believe this person did this to me and they continue to do this, blah, 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 you're only really hurting yourself. And you don't want that resentment to creep in. And I think being able to forgive yourself, it has a lot to do with how you view yourself, right? So I think understanding that, you know, especially if you're someone who's very critical of others and yourself, I have struggled with this. If you're super hard on yourself, then you're obviously going to have trouble forgiving others and forgiving yourself because you've learned to hold on to that pattern of being critical or having low self-esteem. Or a lot of times it's the environment that you grew up in, right? And you were constantly criticized, constantly criticized. I think, you really have to learn about your behaviors and where they stem from. But I feel like someone who is truly confident in themselves, who have a high self-esteem and trust themselves, would be able to handle this very differently. And it's much easier for them to be able to move on from pain that someone has caused them, right? At the end, we're humans, but it really does come down to starting with yourself first and understand this is a bad space for me. This is not good for me. I want to sleep at night in peace. I want to go about my day in peace. And that starts with you and then being able to show grace and forgive others as well. Another thing I would like to add is when I've had trouble forgiving someone for hurting me or whatever it may be, I'm constantly reliving in my past. I'm constantly reliving in that moment. And it's doing nothing but damaging me and it's triggering me and I'm constantly feeling like shit. And so you also have to remind yourself, hey, like, you are your thoughts, right? Like there's your inner world that you have where you're processing your thoughts and it does impact the way you perceive your outside world. So you really have to take control and navigate through your inner mind and your inner voice and make sure that you're not constantly reliving in your past by keeping that resentment and not being able to forgive someone. So I would definitely say that when you're constantly thinking about the betrayal of someone or the hurt that someone has caused you or someone has treated you a certain way or has said something, just know that you need to not constantly go through this over and over again by thinking about it and make the changes that you need to make so either this person doesn't do this to you again or you just take yourself out of the equation and you make space for people who know how to treat you well. And you also understand the things that maybe you need to change about yourself for someone to not treat you a certain way. I think a lot of times people fail to understand that, hey, if someone has treated me bad, yeah, it could be a projection of them or what they're going through. But you also have to look at yourself too and understand that maybe this person saw me as someone who doesn't respect themselves. Maybe this person saw me as someone with low self-esteem. Or maybe this person was stepping all over me, talking to me a certain way. I haven't communicated it to them, or this person's taking advantage of me or is being inconsiderate. And they're probably not even realizing that they're doing that, right? Because you're just letting it happen. You're letting your boundaries be violated and you haven't communicated that issue to them. So instead of putting all the blame on others, you really need to start with doing the inner work and seeing maybe it's something that you did, but that doesn't disregard the fact that someone has treated you badly. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that could the situation have been a little more different if you handled it differently, or if maybe respected yourself more in a situation, or you had set boundaries, maybe this type of person wouldn't even be around you, right? Because you're attracting energy vampires or something like that, right? So you have to really be mindful of yourself in that situation too, and also be mindful of, why did this person treat me this way? So I want to end this by saying that you need to really let go of the mistakes that you've made, right? You don't want to relive in your past. Focus on the future. Focus on the present and focus on the future and what lays ahead and what you can do differently. You don't want to sit there self-sabotaging yourself and beating yourself up every time you think about a certain situation, right? So you want to be able to focus on what's happening in front of you and how you can do better in the future, because it only leads moving forward. You're going into your future. It's whatever you're doing, it's leading into the future. So you need to take the right steps to make sure that this doesn't happen again, or, you just need to move on with your life. This is a period of your life where something bad happened, but you don't want the rest of your life or years to be that way as well. And you don't want to keep constantly ruminating on these thoughts. You want to be able to move forward with your life. The last thing I would say is take control of your self-worth and don't place it in someone else's hands, right? You are in control of your self-worth, and you need to accept who you are. And if you didn't like what you've done, it's okay. Make those changes, but understand that you did what you could based off of the information that you had and the way that you felt. And this will ultimately help you to be able to forgive yourself. So show yourself some grace, show others grace, show yourself some love, and learn to let go. Thank you so much for listening in today. I am so grateful for all the support and feedback I've been getting. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to Sonia Space, and follow me on Instagram for sneak peeks on upcoming episodes as well as other inspirational content. I hope your day goes well, and I've left you feeling inspired. Bye-bye.